Hey everybody, and welcome back to a pretty quick video, but I want to talk about the pricing for MO98 and how we decided upon it, because I think it is an interesting thing to just share with. Now, I want to preface, this is how we did pricing. The goal of this video is not to be like the all-inclusive guide to how you should price your game. I just want to walk you through some of the thoughts that I had with pricing MO98, why we ended up with the price of $6.99, €5.99 in this case, and just tell you some things maybe went right or wrong. So MO98 has been out for, I think, like 16 hours, a little bit more at this point. I think it has gone pretty well. I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked at the sales numbers yet, but by the time that this video comes out, I should have done a live stream where I did a live reveal of the sales numbers. So if you want to go for that one, it should be linked like down below or somewhere, basically. We ended up for MO98 being priced at, well, this is in euro, €5.99 base price, €5.35 with the launch discount. It is, yeah, $6.29 right now on discount as well. These are like all of the prices. Should you want to see like what it boils down with you can see like the regionalized differences as well here through SteamDB. Why did we go for $6.99? That's, I think, the big first question that I want to talk about, and it comes down to a few things. I think the first thing is I will never release a game under $5 anymore. Is something that I realized after we released Kyoto Anomaly. So Kyoto Anomaly was a game that cost $3.99. And I think to a certain degree, even Unicycle Pizza Time was $4.99. These are games that have sold, honestly, surprisingly good amounts, I would say still. However, the $3.99 price tag and even $4.99 price tag, after all of the steps that you take of having the 30% Steam cut, having refunds, having for example, VAT and everything coming through that, we are basically running at a near 50% conversion ratio from gross to net. So that means that for every copy we sell for $3.99, we get about €1.90 or like $2.20 or something like that. It's not a great number, because if you have a game that is inherently that low priced, you are going to need to sell way more copies. And selling more copies is honestly harder than just increasing your game price by $1. Like your game being $1 more expensive, going from like $5 to $6, for example, it's going to be 16% more expensive, I think, like in total, but it doesn't mean that 16% less people will buy that game, because it's kind of like lumped in that whole range. I think a very fun thing is, I want to talk about this. This is from the Peak developers. They did a pretty famous interview recently, and then someone turned it into a Calvin and Hobbes like little comic that talks about, like, you know, $5 is $5, and $6, it's also kind of $5, because, you know, it's so close anyway. So this is why Peak, for example, ended up at $7.99, because $7.99 is still mentally $5 to the player, and they're like, okay, this is the perfect point, basically. And I kind of had that logic as well. I decided for the pricing for MO98 to also consider, what do I, as the studio, feel like I want to get every time I sell a copy? And $5.99 wouldn't have given me enough. And I don't mean this as like an evil corporate guy. I just know that, like, with things like bundle discounts now as well, because as you can see, we are doing a lot of bundles, that's going to eat another 10% of the gross revenue, for example. It has benefit, it has downside, and I think that $6.99 for us was a pretty okay spot. Now, I do want to talk here about the localized pricing, because I think we actually did something relatively interesting. I don't know if it's like good or bad. So Steam did this new thing where they now have automatic pricing, purchasing power parity adjusted pricing. This pricing is kind of a weird hybrid between I manually entered these prices and then I used the Steam purchasing power parity tool, which was released after I initially set the first prices. The game is pretty high priced in USD, but I think we have been, and you can see that here, I would say, with the regionalized pricing as well, have been more generous with the non-USD discounts. I think the Steam purchasing power parity conversion is still not really 100% like amazing, I would say. For example, I'm a European bro, my brain thinks in euro, and a $6.99 game is just not the same as a €6.99 game, in my opinion. And because of that, like, I don't know exactly where, for example, our euro conversion is here. Yeah, so it's converted to $6, right? €5.35. So it's basically similar, but the USD to euro conversion rate keeps just changing and all of that. And I think this is a way more like reasonable European price, for example. Could you have listed the game at like $6.49? Probably it would have been a little bit more of an accurate price. Like, if all of these other prices stayed the same, and then the current price, not the current price, but like the actual sale price, the base price, would be $6.49 and then 10% discount, maybe it would have been a bit better. Because I have to be honest here as well, the biggest problem that that MO98 currently has is we're doing okay review-wise. It's not great, 76%, 123 reviews. And if we actually scroll down to the reviews, we'll see that the problem is just that the game is too short for the amount of like money we ask for it. That's like the one underlying trend between all of these points. Everyone is like, yeah, it's a very nice and polished game, but it doesn't feel like $7 worth of content. And I feel like that's enough. I think this is something that I kind of didn't expect, or like I didn't expect in like the player's mind as maybe the follow-up to this Calvin and Hobbes meme, not like meme, but like explanation. It's like, the game is $7. This guy didn't pay $7 for it. Because I know this guy didn't pay $7 for it because we have that 10% launch discount. So he did at most $6, 29 right now. But then add on to the bundles, if he already owned another incremental game, there was a big chance he got an extra 10% bundle discount and all of that. So I guess there is more value in the base price still being like, I guess that is still what people pull in as the benchmark, because that's kind of what I've thought about as well. Of like, $6.99, it's kind of high, but this is also the most expensive that the game is ever going to be. Because looking at previous games releases that we've done, after we do our first like actual week-long discount, which is going to be like 6 weeks from now, I guess, the amount of sales will drop massively, and not that many people will still buy the game comparatively to when the game isn't on discount. So I kind of kept that in mind of, you're not just looking at the price today on launch, but also, okay, we're looking at the price 2 years from now. Because 2 years from now, like, these games will still sell whenever there are seasonal discounts and things like that. And then you need to think, okay, so for example, in Kyoto Anomaly, I can't really discount this game that much, because a 40% discount, which is like an okay level of discount for a year after release, I guess, this gives us $2.39 per copy. And that is what Steam gets. This is basically €1 per copy that we sell, and the amount of money you make per copy at that point just doesn't make enough sense. And that's kind of my thing of like, maybe we get the reviews right now of like, hey, it's kind of overpriced for what it is. Does it suck? Maybe, but I'm also not taking it as direct as I expected it to be. Also, some of these are like, you know, standard gamer stuff of like 5 hours at review time, and it's like, it's too short, and then 9.5 hours at this point. These things will happen. You will always have people who want the game to be free to play or have more content and all of that. Of course, I wish it was a better game for these people, but I also have to keep in mind the pricing years from now, basically. As for final thing, like launch discount, I had this planned at 20% for the longest time. I ended up talking to some other developers and they were like, no, just go for 10%. Because I think that is another problem that might be a bigger discussion. And that is like the lack of price inflation on games, where games are one of those mediums that is kind of a race to the bottom. It also doesn't help that games like Tower Wizard are like €2.99, $2.99, where I think we also shouldn't undervalue your game. I think we have a really good and polished game. And at the end of the day, $7 is still not that much money. And I think you also need to have almost to a certain degree the balls to be like, yeah, actually, I do want to be valued for my work, and I'm not going to just put in like very, very cheap games, because for some people, like a Tower Wizard, a very cheap game can work because they can actually get that high amount of copies sold. And there are even like metas on Steam almost of launching with like the 40% launch discounts and things like that, just to get more conversion on day one. There are other opinions on that. I didn't really feel like doing that at the end of the day. I think the pricing is fair. It's not a cheap game, but I think still, especially keeping in mind, if you own another Bite Me game, if you have, you know, if you have another incremental game because of all of these bundles, for example, like we have a very high overlap with Execute. If you buy the bundle with Execute, you're getting a 20% discount on top of the 10% launch discount if you already have Execute, for example. So every copy from this bundle, if the user already has Execute, is going to be more like $5, a little bit less even that you pay as the actual like player. So those are some of the things that I also kind of kept in mind, not just looking purely at the base sale price, but also just at how does this tie in with everything in the grand picture. Could we have released this game at $5.99? Once again, maybe. That could have also worked. The question is, would we have sold 13% more copies if we priced the game $1 lower? That's a guessing game. Now it's kind of too late for that. Now it's a hindsight 2020. I don't regret this price. I just want to say that. I don't think you need to price your game the same. I think it depends on your genre as well. It depends on a lot of things. I just wanted to share you a little bit of the rationalization, I guess, that I had. Do with this information what you want. Maybe it's too expensive for you, maybe not. Because I think also like some other stuff we did is we also do have like a soundtrack still and a supporter pack. Supporter pack, we do not do any discounts on because that kind of defeats the point of a supporter pack. So if you do want to support us, you can get a picture of my cat. This is my cat. She's called Karma. There's 4 pictures of her and also pictures of the other developers of the Bite Me team's cats in the game if you get the supporter pack and you support us. This wasn't supposed to be a plug for that, but it's kind of like, you know, maybe you think I'm a greedy asshole. I just think that, you know, we shouldn't just race to the bottom. I think this is a fair price. And yeah, you'll always have people who will want more stuff. Like we had like comments earlier as well talking about like how they wanted this game to be free to play because we dared to have a supporter pack, which should have been like the only way to monetize. You will never please everyone. So I think then it's best to look at focusing on how can I please myself and not undervalue my work. So that's all right to say. If you haven't picked it up yet, MO98, let me tell you, it is still a very good game. I would say it's the best game we've ever made. I'm very proud of this game, no matter what the reviews are. And I think you will enjoy it as well. So if you haven't also, feel free to pick up a copy, I guess. And yeah, we're gonna probably make some more videos about like this game and the earnings and deep dives into the stats and all of that. So if that's something you're interested in, then be sure to head down below and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. That's all I have to say. See you guys in the next one. Bye.